So back in 2014 when I saw the Lego movie, I thought it was really good, like best animation of the year good. It was even better than some of the stuff Pixar was putting out during that time. It hit all the right beats in terms of what an animation like this should be. It was funny, clever, exciting, and most importantly, a little emotional. It was also cool just to see a new animation style that deviated from the normal stuff we were seeing in most of the movies at the time. I would give the Lego movie a 9 out of 10. Definitely recommend it. By the way, before I talk about the second movie, I'm going to be spoiling some stuff from the first movie, so if you haven't seen the first one, you've been warned. After watching the trailer for the sequel though, I was kind of worried. It seemed like the movie was just going to be a retread of the original with some new characters and a story that feels kind of like an inconsequential adventure compared to the first one. Since the first movie dealt with the idea of how different people play with Legos, it seemed like there wasn't much else to really explore in terms of how the real world interacts with the Lego world. After watching it though, I can say that I was wrong and that the writers were able to craft a story that I think deserved to be told. It's very similar to the original, kind of like how 22 Jump Street and 21 Jump Street are basically the same movie.
You two sons of bitches are going to college. For your next mission, you two sons of bitches are going to medical school.
But like 22 Jump Street, it adds a lot of new things to the table that still differentiate it from its predecessor. I wouldn't be surprised though if someone would prefer this one to the original.
Hey Matt, you think that the second Lego movie is better than the first one?
Yeah.
The story in this movie really tries to dig deeper into the development of the characters and is a lot more complicated than the first movie. There are twists, new characters, musical numbers, and a constant switch between the real and Lego world to give you a sense of how things are being affected from one world to the other. I enjoyed all these aspects of the movie and the creativity that went into all the new settings and characters, but at its core, it still relies on the structure of the first movie. I don't think any of the new characters, maybe except for the Queen, were as great as the supporting cast of the original movie. They kinda get sidelined in this one, which kinda sucks. Lego Batman was still probably the best side character though, so I was glad to see him get a lot of the best scenes in this movie. I also think that the choice to switch from the Lego world to the real world so often was a cool idea, but didn't have the same effect it had on me the first time it happened in the original. I think it's because when it happened in the first movie it was jarring and totally unexpected, and now it's being used to the point that you can kind of guess what's going on both sides when they flip between the two. It's more of a gimmick in the second one rather than a big third act reveal like it was in the first one. On a more positive note, I think that the jokes were funnier in this one and that the added use of musical numbers were really entertaining and furthering the story. I especially like how the movie expands the universe as much as it can for a still Lego set, by exploring what the world would look like if the main kid's little sister created it. The movie also brings up new themes about growing up, which took me back to the days of Toy Story 3. Even the ending was surprisingly emotional. Maybe not Toy Story 3 level, but close. I at least commend it for having real stakes. They really tried to make an exciting and compelling story for this one, and I can see the effort put into it. Also, the pop culture references in this movie were amazing. They definitely made for some really good jokes and didn't detract too much from the story. It's not like Ready Player One where if you take out all the references, you're basically stuck with a hollow shell of a movie. In the end, I'm going to give the Lego Movie 2, the second part, an 8 out of 10. I think it's probably as good as a sequel could have been for a movie that I don't think needed a sequel. I honestly don't have that many major flaws with it, just like I did with the first movie. I think that the LEGO Cinematic Universe should just focus on pumping out movies like LEGO Batman. It's technically a spin-off, but it allows for more diverse storytelling. The new Star Wars movies are a bad example of that because they're running the problem of looking and feeling all the same, which I don't want to see happen if they decide to make the LEGO Movie 3. In my eyes, a sequel that's somewhat similar to its predecessor isn't necessarily a bad thing, as long as it adds not only new, but good elements that allow it to stand on its own. That's why I think this movie would go in the kind of similar to the first one, but add some new cool shit, so it's still good category of sequels, rather than the totally reinventing the wheel and blowing everyone's minds category. Making a sequel is tricky because it can either improve upon the original, take the franchise into a new direction, kill the franchise, or just be as good, not as innovative as the original. But what do I know? You could make a carbon copy sequel with no new good ideas and still get people to love it.
Everything